Imagine if you were unable to look at your own body without feeling so uncomfortable that you wanted to crawl out of your own skin. Day after day, you live in that body, trying to find some way to accept it as it is. Trying to point out 3 positive things about it every night, trying to agree with the people that call you attractive. However, no matter how hard you try, you still feel dissatisfied, to say the least. Then, one miraculous day, you try something new. You do something different with your hair. You put on clothes you had never thought to wear before, and you look back into that mirror. You can hardly recognize yourself. And you're thrilled. Finally, you feel less anxious. Finally, you can look at yourself for longer than a few seconds without feeling revolted. Finally, you feel like yourself. You worry, though, that this feeling might be a fluke. That maybe you're just excited to be trying something completely different. So you decide to do this again. And again. And again. And even after doing this for a few days, you continue to feel overjoyed. You start doing this every day. And sure, you get a few looks sometimes, but that does little to your happiness. You continue to feel confident and proud. Eventually, you decide to go to your friends and family and tell them about your recent discovery. They're silent as you tell them about your new hair, and your new clothes, and your new name, and how you feel like a whole new person, and how happy all of it makes you, and somebody cuts you off. They start telling you about how you should just accept your body for how it is, without changing all of these things. Someone else joins in, angry, and shouting about how wrong all the things you've done are. Another person chimes in, telling the person next to them that they're sure it's just a phase. Everybody else joins in too, talking both to you and amongst themselves. Now that feeling from earlier is gone. You no longer feel excited and proud and happy. Now you feel scared and ashamed and sad. You feel confused. Why are they not as excited as you are about your discovery? Why are they mad at you for wanting to be yourself? Why won't they accept you?
Everything you just walked through is something that almost every transgender person has experienced. The dysphoria depicted in despising your body at the beginning, the realization and joy that came with changing yourself, and, unfortunately, the doubt and fear that came with trying to come out to your loved ones. The people that are supposed to love you the most, the people you are supposed to be able to trust, rejecting who you say you are. Each of these things are all too familiar to a trans person, even down to what the family and friends were saying. By now you may be asking yourself a few questions. What does transgender mean? What or who is a trans person? Why does this matter? According to dictionary.com, the definition of transgender is noting or relating to a person whose gender identity does not correspond to that person's biological sex assigned at birth. A trans person is simply a person who is transgender. And this matters because transgender people are a part of our history and will continue to be such, from transgender rights movements to the rights and laws themselves. On June 27, 1969, the Stonewall riots broke out in New York City between customers of the Stonewall Inn and the police. The riots occurred after patrons of the club grew tired of police harassment and beatings, and the arrest of patrons who were dressed in clothing of the opposite gender. In 1975, Minneapolis quietly became the first city in the U.S. to pass a law prohibiting discrimination against LGBT people, when an ordinance was adopted barring discrimination on the basis of having or projecting a self-image not associated with one's biological maleness or femaleness. In 2005, California became the first state to mandate transgender health care coverage with the Insurance Gender Non-Discrimination Act. Of course, any person can support trans rights, but shown are 3 of the larger categories of supporters. Some parents take the news of their child's identity and support them. They go through the effort of using the right name and pronouns for their child and help them to transition. There are also scientists and psychologists who study the brains and biology of transgender people and use that information to help others, such as counselors or therapists, to better understand how to treat a trans person and what makes them transgender. The media can also have a huge impact on the general public's view on trans people. Some companies make a point of having trans representation in their shows, movies, commercials, etc., so their viewers can see and perhaps understand more about transgender people in several different situations. On the other hand, these same categories can be used for people who oppose trans rights. Some parents will reject their child's identity and try to force them to stay the way that they are, and will continue to misgender and deadname them. Unlike the supporting scientists and psychologists, some opposing ones will use their research to prove that transgenderism is a mental illness, or that conversion therapy is a good thing, which it's not. The media, just like it can influence people to support transgender people, can also do the exact opposite. When popular social media accounts and shows publish transphobic material, it is very influential on the general public's view on trans people and their rights. In 2012, some major cities, including Austin, Texas, Berkeley, California, Philadelphia, Santa Fe, New Mexico, and Seattle, were among the first to pass laws requiring single-user, all-gender bathrooms, following a pattern emerging at many schools and universities. April 20th, 2012. The U.S. Equal Employment Opportunity Commission ruled that Title VII of the 1964 Civil Rights Act, which made it illegal to discriminate based on sex, also protects transgender employees. March 23, 2016. Following a meeting in a special session, North Carolina legislators passed a wide-ranging bill known as House Bill 2, barring transgender people from bathrooms and locker rooms that do not match their biological sex. And January 22, 2019. The Supreme Court allowed President Donald Trump's transgender military ban to go into effect. The justices took no stance on the legality of the ban, but the action cleared the way for it to take effect while lower courts hear additional arguments.
Nobody is 100% certain on what should be done in order to enforce transgender rights while maintaining the privacy and rights of cisgendered people. But what is for certain is that something needs to be done, so as many people as possible can feel safe and protected. Providing transgender people with the opportunity to change their legal sex is one of the first steps in the right direction to solving this issue. This will allow trans people to feel more safe and comfortable. The second step would be to set up legal protections against harassment and discrimination for everyone, regardless of how they present themselves. So transgender people will not have to worry about being rejected from their dream job or dream school just on the basis of their gender identity. When it comes to bathrooms and locker rooms, however, the best solution is even less clear. Not that any solution really is clear at all. What may be best for one person may not be best for another. Building more gender-neutral facilities such as bathrooms, though, would be a good start in the meantime. Gender identity is a rough topic, and can be difficult for both sides of the issue to find any sort of agreement on either an opinion or a compromise. What must be understood by everyone, however, is that the best solution cannot be found through black or white thinking.